Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to have our next guest on this show. Suzy Griswold is a dear friend of mine, and our history goes back many years. How many years is it, Suzy?
Almost six,
6 years?
maybe 5.5. Yeah, almost 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we met, well, we talked on the phone, and then we met for tea at a Kroger Starbucks. And right away for me, there was a great connection. I fell in love with Suzy's passion and her purpose and her desire to help people. And so one thing led to another, and Suzy created a nonprofit organization called HealingStrong. She's the founder and the director, and initially I was on the board of directors, I guess the founding members.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just really so privileged and humbled to be a part of the early beginnings. And now HealingStrong is exploding all over the world. So first of all, let's start off by asking you why HealingStrong, and maybe tell us a little bit about your story and your journey with cancer and how you ended up where you are today.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. First, thanks for having me. It's always great to see you and just to make that connection with dear friends. You are so special to us. So thank you for having us. Yeah, so my journey to HealingStrong really began in 2009 when I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, which is a very treatable cancer. I was told I was lucky enough to get the magic bullet. What my doctors didn't know is that coming into a diagnosis of cancer from the time I was 5 until my diagnosis, which was in my 40s, I had lost 10 family members to cancer, and these were people that were very important to me and dear to me that we did life with, and one in particular, Gloria was her name, lost both of her parents to cancer. She lived with us for a little while afterwards, and I watched her struggle. My mother is another, and my dad got cancer shortly after my mom got cancer. My grandparents died of cancer, my aunt, you just name it. So, when you walk a road of it's fearful when you hear the word cancer. I actually told my husband as we got married, just know I'm probably going to end up getting cancer. Isn't that funny how you just perpetuate you take that on. And so I told Jeff, I'm probably going to get cancer. And I would never speak that over myself anymore because, cancer does not scare me even a little bit anymore based on what I've learned. But when I was diagnosed 2009, I actually committed my career to public health. I went to Texas A&M. I got a degree in public health and community health. I went on to grad school. My heart was to find a cure for cancer. You kind of like on a mission, right? And so I went to University of School of Public Health. I worked for a very well-known foundation as a research coordinator, and this was the first thing. This is really important because, I love how God just brings things into our life, into our path that kind of set us on this trajectory. But I was a grad student, and I took a job as a part-time research coordinator. They were working on a drug called 9-NC nitrocamtothecin. It was for the worst of the worst pancreatic cancer patients who had failed gemcitabine. They had all had the Whipple surgery, and they were being offered this plant-based derivative chemotherapy agent. And my job was just to gather data, to visit with the patients. And I love that. I love hearing their stories. I've always loved hearing stories. And I share this with you because it's a very important turning point in when I was diagnosed, how God just really called that back to my memory bank. So on top of going through Texas A&M, one of the best institutions around, Giga Maggie's, for those of you that are out there watching that, went on to University of Public Health, School of Public Health at one of the best medical institutions in the United States, really in the world. And I think I got one nutrition class, really one nutrition class. And I loved it. I knew it resonated with me, and I loved it. Needed to make some money. I was married, had a child. We had moved to Houston to finish my studies, and found this job. And this is what I want to tell you that was so important, is that there was a couple that was doing really well on the study. And they pulled me aside one day and they said, Suzy, you know what we're doing different. And they were doing well. They were like the poster children for this foundation, the poster child, the poster couple. Very elusive, kind of to themselves, but very healthy. Everyone else was passing away. I mean, they would come in, they would get the bloating, they would, the cachexia. There were just things that were happening. You could just see it. You see the gaunt face. You know that they were not doing well, but this was a couple that was doing really well. The husband was. And she pulled me aside and she said, Suzy, you know what we're doing different? And I said, no, tell me. She said, we are doing a macrobiotic diet. And I'm like, what's a macrobiotic diet? I didn't have the internet at the time. There was this is in the 90s. Internet was there, but it was slow. And so that day I went and looked up everything on macrobiotic diet that night at the UT Health Science Public Library. I pulled everything I could, and I'm like, lentils, brown rice, no sugar, no dairy. I'm like, what the heck are they doing? This is crazy. But what I did, and I would see them periodically in the office, and what I did is I documented. And that's it. I left it alone. We were studying this 9-NC, 9-nitrocamtethesin. We were studying that, and I left it alone. Little did I know, as time went on, they were doing really, really well. He was very strong. People continued to die. They did live a little bit longer. It was a successful study. And then I graduated my career. I went into public health and did fundraising and things like that with other things. But that always resonated with me because of just the success that he had experienced. So when this happened to me, those kinds of things are in our memory bank, stored in our memory bank. And I remembered his name. This has been like 17 years, I remembered his name, so I Googled him. Sure enough, he had just passed away 6 months before that. He had lived many years. He had lived, and he carried the torch for that foundation. And I love that. He did really well. He took the camptothecin, the 9-nitrocamtethesin. He did everything he could do, everything he knew to do, but he did something different, and that was diet. That was a very restrictive diet. So in the meantime, someone sent me a book by Suzanne Summers, and I grew up when Suzanne was the ditzy blonde on, Three's Company. I'm like, what can she teach me about cancer? But I respected the lady that sent me the book. She was the founder and the director of the organization, the research organization I was working for. So I read the book, and I was blown away. There were things in there I didn't know much about. And anyway, it just set me on this trajectory of researching. I wanted to know more. There's a verse that resonates with me. It says, seek wisdom, and with all thy seeking, gain understanding. So it's one thing to sit in front of you and others that are very knowledgeable of this, but we need to ask questions about why. And so I began to look at the questions. I looked at Otto Warburg. I looked at the aha moments and I had my own aha moments I wanted to see the research. I found out that 1 in 2 people are getting cancer, men, and almost 1 in 2 women. I found out that, there was a research study done in Australia where, 90,000 people were studied and only a 2% success rate of extension of life 5 years and beyond. This was the actual Australian, medical association that did this. I found out that all over the world, people were doing things very different than what America was doing. And so I had to really take a step back, and I made the decision at that point, number one, to change my diet. And what resonated with me was the Gerson Therapy, but I would not do the coffee enemas for 6 months. I'm like, that's crazy. I'll do everything else, but I'm not about to touch that. And fast forward, a dear friend of mine who is a cancer coach, runs her own foundation, Wendy Hood, came into the picture. And she didn't know anything about coffee enemas either, but she knew it was part of the protocol. And she said, either you need to do it and you need to be full force on, because I wasn't seeing extensive. Like, I was feeling better, but I wasn't, there was no turning point. And you know it physically. You will know if you're making progress. So I did. I embraced it full force. They found a lung nodule in June. I found a lung nodule. So this was I actually did do the radiation, allowed them to take my thyroid gland out. It showed up in my lymph nodes. I started the Gerson Therapy. 6 months into it, they found a lung nodule. Most of my family had died of lung cancer. I dove in full force, and things changed. Within 2 weeks, I was experiencing healing reactions, feeling better. My fibroids in my uterus were going away. Even my tremors. I have a tremor in my neck. My neck even got better. I mean, there were so many things that I knew that I was on the right track because I was feeling better, and I had to trust that this was the direction I was on. I had a peace about it. I did not have a peace after watching 10 family members go through chemo and radiation and die. And you couldn't tell me any different. I sat with doctors' offices, right? I went and saw 3 different physicians. Oh, we can pluck your tumors out, your glands out one by one. Oh, we can do a radical neck dissection. Not a big deal. It is a big deal. So for me, I just sought the peace, and it changed everything. A year and a half. As you know, I love your book. I have it here. One of the best written books, and I'm going to put a shameful plug in here for you. It really is one of the best books ever written. It's very well researched, but I love that you cover these 7 essentials, because I did not understand, emotional healing was a big part of my healing, but it's like an onion that we experience. I'm in my 50s now, and so there's still things that come up that I realize I have to continue to surrender it to God. And you talked about big thing I learned from you is dental toxicity. I had a mouthful of amalgam fillings. I'm getting my last one out tomorrow, by the way. So,
yay, finally.
3 years, right? We've been talking about it. So anyway, that's kind of that was a long story. I hope that's okay. But, everything got better. It took 18 months of just doing mostly Gerson. He was my inspiration. Anne Fromm was another one. I did a lot of reading, a lot of researching. I added supplemental or adjunct therapies, like I would do apricot kernels and things like that, in the process, and lots of coffee enemas. 8 to 10 juices a day. I was vegan. And you can learn more about what I did in this book, which you wrote the forward on. And we changed it. I don't know if you know that we changed the cover. It's Created to Heal Strong.
Beautiful.
And repurposed it. So anyway.
So tell us, so that's your healing journey. And you've learned a lot. And thank you for mentioning my book. It's
a great book.
Thank you. Yeah. 2nd edition should be coming out by the end of the year. So updated information.
Awesome.
It's amazing how much things change in just 4 years. I mean, there's so many improvements and things. So, so HealingStrong, why HealingStrong? Yeah.
So HealingStrong really started when people realized that it was successful. I would get calls and they would say, you got to talk to this person and this person. And in the beginning, I would make these calls and spend hours, and then nobody would do anything. And I think what was important to me was put the information out there. So it's neat how it all happened. There's so many people involved in HealingStrong, but someone said, hey, I'll help you with a website. Rebecca did. We did a website, which really allowed them in the privacy of their own home to learn what I did, and then we decided we wanted to bring our favorite people together. Like, we wanted to celebrate our healing, because there's power in numbers. My whole life, I worked in nonprofits. The last 10 years I worked in for-profit, but I started in nonprofit work, and I wanted to do a conference and bring these people together. We did this event, as you know, you were one of our first speakers, and it was sold out, standing room only. People decide why they want to connect. They wanted to see their favorite speakers. But what we found is that more important, people wanted to connect together. I know for me, I'd get on the internet and look for people that shared my values, that looked at, you know, holistic health, and I would send them emails and connect with them. And those people were the ones that we really brought into the development of the organization. So the team is amazing. The best team on the planet, hands down, to get an organization going was the HealingStrong, and still is the HealingStrong team. 95% of people are still involved in it that started it. But we wanted to provide a safe place for people to learn information, to not feel pressured to buy products, to share their stories. We took time to write curriculum, to develop, you know, PowerPoint presentations, to brand it so people can be a part of a bigger organization, a bigger scope. And we just invited God into all aspects of it. A lot of prayer was involved in this from the beginning, and we continue to grow, and we continue to just see how can we do things better than what we did in the beginning. But it's been 5 years. We opened it up to the public about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. We thought we'd have 100, I think I've shared this with you in the past, but 100 groups in 5 years was our goal. We had 100 groups in 1 year.
Wow.
And we've had to step back because we work, 95% of us are volunteers. We just have one staff member, but we do contract with people now. And we just decided now we need to make sure the foundation is solid. We watch who we partner with. We determine the best education. We look for the heart of people like you and others that really believe in our mission. And we're just trusting as we move ahead that things are going to be taken care of, because it's grown really fast. And we believe in it. We believe, when you're swimming upstream, you want to see other breast cancer patients or other patients that have done this. It's one thing to read it on the internet. It's another to be part of a Facebook page. But when you come into a meeting and you have people that are loving on you, we have great information. We've set it up to where the structure is very positive. We have affirmations. We have recipe cards. We send you out, and then we encourage the connection with the leaders. It's just different. So we've kind of found what we need to do.
Yeah, and it's so important. As a matter of fact, there's a study that was done on women with breast cancer. It was an 11-year study, and they found that those who learned to manage their stress, one, but number two, were part of a community, had a 79% decrease in mortality rate.
I believe it.
You know, that connection, that human connection is so important. So
Can I share? Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to share a couple of stories with you that go along with that. I love testimony. It's one, research is great, and we do, everything is evidence-based that we teach, but the stories are incredible. They're incredible. So one story, this summer, I met a young lady named Mary, stage 4 breast cancer, came to our group meeting. She actually had been hopping around Atlanta because she came to Atlanta for treatment. And so we just had the wonderful opportunity to encourage her. The first meeting she came in, she stayed after, just crying, needs the support. We circled around, encouraged, prayed over her, and just said, come back. She came back the next month. Well, then it came time for her to go, and she went to visit her son up in Alaska. And guess what? We have an Anchorage, Alaska group. So she's connected with the Anchorage, Alaska group, and they have a different group, but it's a smaller group, and she got connections. So she has been to these different group meetings, and it has helped a stage 4 cancer, and it's helped her, and she has no evidence of disease.
Wow.
So yes, and we have many stories of that. We had a lady that came in. I won't go into too many details because there's so many great stories, but a lady who came in this last Monday, despondent, despair, feeling like it wasn't working. And we just said, come to our group meeting. She wasn't gonna do it. And then later that day, she ends up coming down here, and we had a chance to kind of circle around her and encourage her and pray with her. And then we said, hey, come to the meeting on Monday. She comes to the meeting on Monday. She finds out that day that the hospital had released the $28,000 debt that she owed. We found out that her tumor markers were 0. And it wasn't anything that we, this was set into motion. And I believe that God brings these communities together to help us. We need to be together. We need that personal face-to-face connection. It's different. And we see it as people come in feeling what, and they leave feeling so encouraged, and equipped and empowered to walk this journey.
That's right. That's right. Which is one of the reasons why I host the Healing Diva retreats. Although they're only once a year, but we'll be doing those
powerful
more often.
Your Diva retreat, I went last year, is powerful.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of information, and it's very powerful. A lot of hard connections. So how many countries are you in?
We're in 9 now.
Wow.
9 countries. And at our next, we're doing an event in November. Our New Zealand gal is coming. Our South Africa gal is coming.
I connected by email to the one in New Zealand. So she's doing a PhD in breast cancer.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know if maybe there's a way to even a Skype call or something while she's here.
I told her we would do that.
She hopes to have 7 groups in New Zealand by the end of the year.
Wow.
Our South Africa, I've been in touch with her for 3 years. She's also a breast cancer patient. I can tell you many of our people are breast cancer thrivers.
Yeah.
And it's so great. We've got Philippines, lots in Canada. We have a lot up in Canada, Ontario and all the different provinces. I think it's Ontario and British Columbia.
Yeah.
And then on the opposite, I don't know my geography. Anyway, and then the other thing is that we have translated all of our curriculum into Spanish.
Wow.
And so everything's been translated. We've got a medical doctor from another country that has helped us do that. She has stage 4 cancer. Her heart is in it for the right reasons. I think she is coming to the event. So, we just, our goal, Dr. V, is just to really provide this platform for people to share their story in their language. We would love to see it go, wildfire all around the world, and people being able to do it. And it's not something we can do. It's the volunteers. It's it's the heart of the people.
Yeah. So awesome. So tell us a little bit about your event. There's an event coming up at the beginning of November, right?
Yeah. November 3rd. It is. We've not done it in 5 years. So our last one was 5 years ago, but we're super excited about this one. It's being held at a beautiful facility. It's a made-for-production television studio called In Touch. And it's small stage, but everybody feels like you're sitting right there on the stage. We have amazing speakers. One of my personal favorites is Dr. Patrick Quillen. He's the one that plays the ukulele. We're asking him, please play the ukulele. We have Dr. Z and Sabrina that are coming. We have Chris Work is our MC, and he was fabulous. At our first event, he was just so fabulous. He's also going to be speaking with Courtney Campbell, just setting up your home. And Courtney is going to be big and pregnant during that time. And I love that. Number 4.
Awesome.
Yeah. And she was one of the founding, members for HealingStrong. So her heart is invested, and she's got, I just love it, because they weren't going to do chemo and radiation because they wanted to have children. Now she's on number 4.
That's
and
awesome.
So they're funny together. I think it's going to be great. But here's what I think is so special is that we are incorporating music and worship and individual production so that it can get to the heart of the emotional healing. It's one thing to have someone come up and talk about, the research behind emotional healing. It's another to weave those artistic production components into it, and that's what we're going to do. We have resources we're going to give everyone. We're giving away tickets on our website if anybody wants to go to that, but it's a very limited we can get only up to about 350 in the studio. So, and we've sold 150. So we have 200 that we need to sell, and we know that we will. And then Ty and Charlene Bollinger are going to be our honored guests. So, and they're going to speak to, so we just are super excited about it and hopeful that people will walk away just feeling inspired and encouraged. And, you know, more than anything, that they see themselves as God sees them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, and I will be mentioning that in our newsletter next week. So
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely promote it on social media as well, because people need to hear about this event. So no, thank you
so much.
Thank you for all the work that you're doing and how you're supporting so many people and giving people hope, because we all know that a cancer diagnosis is very traumatic. It can be very frightening, but when there's hope and when there's support and faith, that we know that you know, we can move mountains. So
that's
thank
right.
you for all you're doing, Suzy.
And we're all better together.
That's
you know
right.
What I mean, we're all better together. So you are one of my favorite people on the planet. I just want you to know and appreciate you and all you do with the heart that you do it. You came into Healing Strong in the beginning and were one of those. I'll just never forget it. You would send these encouraging emails to me when I just didn't even know, am I doing the right thing? And I would get the sweetest notes of encouragement for you. It will always have such a special place in my heart. You do. And Brian and all your team, we love you. We've got these we're giving away to your participants. Yes. We're sending these. Yes.
Thank you.
You're Healing Diva. We love you guys. So happy for you. Excited.
Thank you so much.